Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the First Class, Second Place podcast. I'm your host, Jason Enrique, and with me today, I have some very special guests with me. I have the host from the All In on Everything podcast. We got Meech, Negro, and Melissa. How you doing, everybody?
What's up?
What
What's up?
up?
What's up, Jason? What's up?
Doing good,
Hey.
man. Doing good. Honored to have you guys on. I told you a little while ago that I've been listening to the show for quite some time. Really enjoyed it, and I want to reiterate, you guys, like I tell everybody that comes on my show, I don't bring just anybody on my show. If I believe in what you're doing and I like what you're doing, and I want to introduce you to my audience, then welcome.
Thank you. We appreciate it. We really greatly appreciate it, and we look forward to introducing you to our audience as well. So that's very very nice of you, dog. We appreciate it.
You're welcome, man. And so you, especially you, Negro, it's been a long time, man. It's what
Yeah.
over 10 years.
Over 10 years, man. Me and the little story. Me and Jason met back in Miami. We're both from up north. He's from Jersey. I'm from Brooklyn. As is Meech. We met at a restaurant called Miami Lakes Ale House.
Mm-hmm.
My old stomping grounds.
Believe it or not, there's actually an ale house not too far from my house either. The same company.
Yeah, man. So we met there, and we hit it off right away, man. You weren't there that long. You came back home. Jersey's a lot better place to live than Brooklyn, so I'm not going back.
You in Jersey right now?
Yeah, I'm in Jersey right now. I'm visiting my brother. I'm actually in my brother's bedroom. So if you see the clothes up there, don't worry about it. We watching UFC fights in the living room, but nice. I came up here to visit my brother, my son Justin. He just graduated high school, so So thank you, man.
Yeah. And how about you, ladies? This is the first time I'm formally being introduced to you, ladies, Misha and Melissa specifically. So why don't you guys tell me a little bit about yourself? I guess I'll start with you, Misha.
Well, yes, like Negro said, I'm originally from New York, Brooklyn, New York. I moved to Florida 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And basically moved because I just needed to change. I have 2 kids. I have one on the way, and
Congratulations.
thank you. I just how it is back in Brooklyn. Things never change.
Mm-hmm.
You love the place. I love the place. I miss the food. I miss the culture. I miss everything. Like summertime in New York is, it's nothing like right. There's nothing like summertime in New York. And don't get me wrong, I miss my family because my entire family is in New York. But, sometimes you got to do what you got to do for your kids. And that's what I did.
Yeah, I actually had a guest on my show not too long ago. Shout out to Rick Herrera. They live in Arizona now, him and his wife, and they have a podcast of their own. It's the Wind and Cloud podcast, so a little shout out to them as well. They're both from New York. He's from Brooklyn as well, and he actually said something along the lines where he rather love it and miss it than be there and hate it. So that's where he's at right now, and I think you guys can share the same sentiment.
Perfect way to put it.
That's fire.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a little bit different than this group, kind of. So I was born in the Bronx, New York, and we lived in Queens. We lived in Queens, my family, until I was about 7, and we moved to Florida.
What part of Queens?
So I'm basically, what's that?
What part of Queens?
We lived in Yonkers.
Actually.
Okay. Yonkers is in Queens.
Exactly.
What?
Yonkers is in Queens.
Listen,
it's Yonkers.
We lived in Queens, and then I don't know. I'm not a New Yorker anymore. So, and
that reminds me. I'm
actually going to say I hate when people they rep New York hard, and they were like me. They moved here when they were 7. Like, to me, I would never be that person.
Oh, Florida's full of those people.
Oh my God!
A lot of those people. Like, I do not fake it. I'm a Floridian at heart because this is where I've been. This is where I grew up. I go and I visit. But I can tell you, I don't know a lot about. If you tell me, to take the train here by myself, I'm gonna be lost. But that's just what it is. But to your point, it was kind of like that with my parents. Like, my mom was the one that started just hating it over there. And she was just miserable. So that's what brought us over here. Like, she hated the weather. She hated just everything about New York. And it got to a point where it was that's it. So they brought us over here, and I prefer I love to visit New York, and see my family. I have a lot of family there still, but to me, it's more of somewhere to visit as opposed to live. Yeah, for me personally,
that's how it. No, and I share that sentiment with you because that's exactly how I feel about Miami. So my brother, well, he doesn't live there anymore. He lives in Nevada now. My mom and my sister actually still live down there as well. So I go there at least once a year to visit them, and I have the same sentiment as you. Like, I would rather visit than live there. and when I met Negro, like that was actually my second time being in Florida. So a little bit of a backstory, since you guys never met me before. I actually did go to high school in Florida. I went to Miami Killian Senior High in Kendall. And after I graduated high school, I came back up here because when I first moved down to Florida, it was actually against my will because my parents had split up, and then my mom gained custody of all me, my brother, my sister, and then she moved us down there because that's where she's from. Like her family's from Hialeah and everywhere else.
Ooh,
And yeah,
Hola.
yeah, and then but I just never could. Like for me personally, I just felt like I didn't really belong. Like, and I was just so starkly different from everybody. Everybody hated me because I was a Jet fan and a Yankee fan and a Knicks fan. So I basically made no friends at the time. But the only advantage that I had was the fact that I was able to meet girls because, like, oh, you're not a typical Miami dude. This is different. I like this. So that was the only advantage. But
those things still happen.
Yep.
But long story short, I ended up coming here, and then for the 2 years that I met Negro down there, I was going through some personal things that I just needed to get away from here for just a little bit, and then I got it resolved, and then I came back up here, and I've been here ever since. And I'm just a Jersey guy through and through. I was born and raised here. Everything about me screams Jersey. I love being here. I love repping it, even when I'm not home, and that's just who I am, man. And this is actually sort of this podcast is sort of Jersey based in a way, like the title "First Class Second Place" kind of is Jersey-esque, meaning that we're like considered like the little brother of New York and everything. So but I personally think that it's still a first class state. So it's a first class state, but we're in second place. That's the way that
that's very interesting.
I love Jersey, bro. I mean, I'm up here
with the taxes, but
I'm up here with my boy Danny, and we're just sightseeing. We was at Hoboken last night. We went to the pier. And just that view from over here, my brother lives on this side by West New York and Union City area. And, that's something that I miss about New York is the culture living in Miami. Miami is awesome. It's great. It's fun. It's the weather's nice, but it's a lot of different people. I was fortunate to meet a lot of good people there that I have some really good friends of mine, but the culture coming from up here to go down there is very, very different. So I relate to that. That's only people from New York real New Yorkers can relate to it. Because like Melissa said, there's people that moved down there when they were 4 and they still talking about what's up, B? And got the Statue of Liberty tattooed on their arm. It's like, come on. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, you don't even know what part of the New York you're from, really.
Right here.
I can't.
Yeah, apparently, people in Queens also live in Yonkers.
It was a slip of the tongue. Wait, we also lived in Ozone Park. Where's
that's Queens? That's
Queens.
There we
go. I mixed things up. So
Yonkers is where DMX is from. Rest in peace.
There we go. I think we lived
Locks,
there for a
Mary
little
J. Blige, all of them.
Yeah.
We lived in Yonkers for a little bit and then Ozone Park. So excuse me, forgive me.
Yeah, a part of me was good. A part of me was thinking that you were possibly in Jackson Heights because that's where a lot of Colombians are from in Queens.
Yeah.
And I always like I'm half Colombian myself, but I never been there. I joke around that the closest I've been to Colombia was Jackson Heights. That's the closest I've ever been.
I've never been there either. I actually have a question for you, being from Jersey.
Yes.
What the whole Jersey Shore thing and like
oh my God.
No, it's a genuine like. Does that like portray like Jersey in a negative way? Do you think or people from Jersey? Just
accent.
No, I wouldn't say that it portrays Jersey people in a way, but I will say that there have been people that have, specifically Italian Americans, that have been offended by the way they act. So maybe to a certain degree of the country, they think that maybe all Jersey people like that. But if anything, here in Jersey, the ones in the beginning, not so much anymore, but in the beginning, it was the Italian Americans that kind of took issue with the way they act. But they also actually took issue with the fact that neither of them, except for maybe one, was only from Jersey. Everybody else was from like New York. I know that Paulie D was from Rhode Island. So that's another thing. They felt like it wasn't authentic in that sense. They felt like if you're going to do a show in Jersey Shore, why not have it with people from actually Jersey? Even though they live here now. But actually, to answer your question a little bit further, so one of the funny things about when I used to live in Florida was when they hear me talk and when they hear my accent, they ask me automatically if I'm from New York.
Yep.
And then at first I said, no, I'm from Jersey. It's same thing. But then when the Jersey Shore came out, and when I was down there and I would tell them that I was from New Jersey, not New York, they asked me if I lived anywhere near the shore or do I fist bump or anything like that. You know? So
Oh my God, that's horrible.
yeah.
I'll take Jaeger bombs.
I'm DTF. I'll say that. Yeah. So no, but that's pretty cool, man. So I actually want to talk a little bit about the podcast. I'll start out with you guys. So right here on your Instagram, it says friends coming together to discuss real life situations, solutions, and everything in between. So I guess I'll start off. Any one of you guys start, please. Well, like with you, Negro, I met you like 10 years ago, and I don't think either of us thought that we would ever be in this endeavor at all. So
No.
I guess any one of you guys start, please.
Well,
how did you guys
I'll
this
start.
whole thing?
I'll start. Well, we started. So how I got into the podcast scene. One of my best friends is like a brother to me. His name is Michael Jex. He's also from Brooklyn, from East New York. We grew up together. He lives in Miami now, in Florida. He came to me a couple years back, and he had his own podcast already called the Jex Podcast.
Okay.
And he started his first podcast was called Dreams and Nightmares, and then he transitioned into his own podcast called the Jex Podcast. And he called me up one day and asked me how I would feel about coming on. You know, all my friends that know me know that I'm just, very transparent, honest, fun. And he wanted to just get a different outlook on the topics we were talking about. They were talking about at the time, because him and my friend Gary, which was the co-host, they kind of see things very eye to eye. You know what I mean? So they agreed on a lot of things. So they thought bringing me would be fun, and we had a great time. And I loved it. I fell in love with it. And my sister Meech was like, damn, you're doing good. How would you feel if we did one? I'd be like, that would be fucking awesome, because I was on his podcast and I felt kind of restricted a little bit, because his podcast was delivering a certain type of message, and it was a certain type of, a level of podcast that he wanted to execute,
Right.
And I'm very more of a transparent person, where I wanted to talk more about things that everyday people go through. You know what I'm saying? Not talk from a position of, success. Yes, the podcast wasn't bougie, but I just felt like, this would be a great idea to connect with people that are driving home from work, that are going through issues that we all go through every day. And how could we discuss it as a group and add value to people in that way? And in the process, make it fun, make it authentic, make it real, and just make it something that people enjoy listening to, and where it's not so much of a, dictating how to live and what to do, and giving people, rules, or, or living a lie. You know what I'm saying? I'm not talking like we're here, or like we're super successful superstars, or, we're not doing it for the fame, or we're not doing it for other reasons that other people want to do podcasts for nowadays. We're doing it because we enjoy the conversations we have as friends, as family, and we would love to just, get other people's, input, and just try to add value in any way that we possibly can. You know what I mean? So that's pretty much for why we started the podcast.
Okay.
Yeah, and just to chime in on that, basically what happened was in 2020, where the pandemic was going on. Yeah. It was like we were going through so many things, right? We were literally going through a lot of things. We were having fun, but we were emotionally like in a roller coaster. Especially Negro and I, we're very close. Friendship is like a sibling. Really, it's more than a friendship. It's a sibling, right? Relationship. So one day I just buy the entire equipment. Literally, like I don't know what I'm buying. I just buy an entire package. And
You're just like me. I did the same thing.
I just waited for it to get in the mail, to get to the house. He was living with me at the time, and the package comes in. He was sleeping. I knock on his door. He opens the door. He opens the box, and he's like feeling like what is this? And I'm like, oh, we're starting a podcast.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, really? Yeah, and that's how genuinely it happened. Because I was having conversations. I want to give a shout out to Drew. We never gave a shout out to Drew for coming up with the name.
Yeah, the name. I brought one of our good friends, Drew, back home. We were thinking of names together in my room one night, and me and Drew always play poker. And I had a blackjack table in my room, literally a whole blackjack table, right? So we're looking, and she just threw a party for her sister because Michi loves celebrating her friends and her family. So we will always do theme parties, and we did a Las Vegas theme party. We had a blackjack table. My brother Kev used to deal blackjack. He came up suited and booted like he worked at the casino. We had chips, we had cards. You know, it was awesome. So Drew looks over and he goes, "Yo, all in on everything." Because all in means you're all in, you know,
Yeah,
and that's
awesome. Yeah.
So pretty much that's how it came up, you know what I mean? And then we like Mitchie was saying, she got all the stuff, and that's why I love her. I'm more of a procrastinator, where she's more of the we fucking doing it, you know. And she bought it, and
you're the real MVP, Mish. You're the real MVP.
Yeah,
thank you.
You know how it is. We got it, but the pandemic was such a pain in the ass, and just life was there, and then took a little pause. And after the New Year's, we're like, fuck it, we're doing it. Meech is like, we're gonna do this shit. And we started it, and we've been having a blast with it ever since. You know, we tell our people all the time, we're learning as we go. You know, we learn how to do everything ourselves. Michelle pretty much learns how to, edit the shows, record them, how to tune up everything. You know, we're still working out the camera stuff, but, it's just a process, and we're enjoying the process as we go. And then we were fortunate enough to have Melissa join us. We had her on, Meech had her on as a guest. And I remember when she left, me and Meech were talking. I'm like, yo, that felt great. Like, it felt like organic. Like, she did a really fucking great job. And Meech is like, that's crazy, because I was going to tell you the same thing.
And you guys did discuss this on a previous episode, like when you right before you guys had her, or when you actually had her on. So we'll get to you in a little bit, Melissa. I just wanted to cover a couple of things before we get to that. So when you guys first started, you actually had a different partner that's no longer with you guys, and we won't delve into that because that's your business and everything, and the past is the past. But what I do want to ask is when. Well, initially, kind of like I was the same thing as you. Like, I basically, first, I also want to reiterate with my audience is that if there's something that you want to do, don't just wait for the right time. There's no such thing as the right time. If you
no such thing as the right time,
and that's exactly how it has with me. So there was a time where for me it was. I said that I wanted to do a podcast, but I wasn't taking anything, and I even bought all the equipment, but I wasn't putting anything to use, and I was kind of. Long story short, I felt like I was embarrassing myself, and I just wasted all this money and this time when I could have got it going, because the problem with me is that I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. When I want something, it has to be all aligned, everything. And then afterwards, I realized that there's nothing wrong with learning on the go. So basically I just got tired, and I was like, you know what, fuck it. Not everything is the way that I want it set up, but I feel like if I don't do this now, then it's never going to happen. And then ironically, my first episode premiered on National Podcast Day, which I didn't even know about until after the fact. So I felt that
awesome.
that was serendipitous,
Yeah.
And just so you guys know, National Podcast Day is September 30th. So that'll be the 1 year anniversary of First Class, Second Place. And as far as you guys go, like I said, I'm not going to mention, we're not going to talk necessarily so much about what happened with the previous co-hosts and everything, but I will say, when you run into those kind of trials and tribulations of something like that happening, and then the only way to go is to go forward, how do you guys progress in that, and how do you guys move on? Because I feel like when you're doing something as personal as a podcast, even, you have to take out a lot of emotions in order to move forward.
Yeah, man, it was unfortunate. We won't discuss the details of it. It was unfortunate, and it's something that none of us wanted. So it wasn't. I will say this: it wasn't a thing that we all wanted. None of us. It's just a situation that happened at a moment, and it caused it. There was no other choice but for it to go in the direction it had to go in. So me and Meech had a conversation where we had to sit down. And I know we didn't discuss the emotional aspect of it because we do, it's no problems, no issues. We're not bashing nobody or doing anything like that. But it was just a loss for us because we were all very super close. So, but we looked at each other and we could just, without speaking, we resonated. We knew we still the show doesn't stop. You know what I mean?
The show must go on
because this was our idea previously.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So it wasn't like the three of us had came together first and decided to do it. It was always me and Michelle first.
Yes.
Okay.
And then, so we just because we hit that road bump, we weren't going to let each other down, and it wasn't an excuse or a reason to not continue to do it. We did have a setback. We did have to take off all of our old episodes. We did have to, record a bunch of stuff, but that's fine. That's part of the process, and we're embrace the process. And, like I said, when Mel came around, we weren't looking to add anybody else.
Right.
We were going to just do it just us. You know what I'm saying? And because that way we at least you and I could we could fucking curse each other out and we could record in an hour.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
exactly.
So because like I said, we're family, so we weren't looking for anything. So it's like you said, when you dropped your podcast on the 30th, it's kind of like a coincidence. So when Mel came and she did such a great job with just being how transparent she was, because the whole point of our podcast is we want to, like I said, we want to add value. You know what I mean? And we want people to resonate with us, and we want people to, just see themselves in us. And maybe not everybody won't relate to me, but someone will relate to me, someone will relate to Mel. But the only way to really add value and to really talk about what we talk about with confidence is to just be honest about what we've gone through in those situations. So we didn't want to have anybody on that wasn't going to be honest about their life. So we do talk about a topic. Now, there's of course there's boundaries where you don't want to talk about things that are super personal, whatever the case may be. Right. For me, there's none, but for others there may be. But we just didn't want nobody to come on here and use this platform as a hype, to be a hype beast, to come and show off or try to portray an image that they're not, or try to seem cooler than they are, or try to seem smarter than they are. We don't want to. That's not what we want to try to portray.
We wanted some real, genuine relationships, like between Mel and I. We were co-workers, and Melissa's always been someone who goes for what she wants. So I've always known that. I've always liked that about her, and she's very she's a great friend. She's a great person. So overall, when she came to the show and everything was happening, honestly, like he said, I didn't want anymore. I didn't want another person. I was like, you know what? Let's do this together. But then it happened so genuine that, we was just like, we got to tell her to come on, because we actually started with telling her, hey, can you cover, since I was in my first trimester and I wasn't feeling too good. And sometimes Negro was on the road. So I'd be like, do you think you could cover? And she's like, yeah. She was super excited about it. And just going back to what had happened, things happen all the time. People fall apart. People outgrow each other. People have other dreams and other aspirations, and it's okay. You can't hold people back. You got to let them go and do their own thing and figure out for themselves what they really want to do. This was us, and this is what we want, and this is what we love to do, even if we don't get paid to do this.
Right.
So
yeah. All right. So that's great. And I'm actually glad that you said that, because I've said it so many times on my show, and I've told people off the air all the time, is that I love this thing so much. This thing that I'm doing right now, this is my baby. I care for it so much that I could do this for 20 years. And I don't have to make a single dollar off of it. And I can only have a loyal listeners of 6, and I'm still going to be able to do it. And I'm going to enjoy doing it and looking forward to doing it, because I feel like not only is it something that I enjoy, but believe it or not, this actually makes me feel like I actually have a purpose in life, because I won't get too much. I won't get too much into detail about my own personal health issues and everything. You guys can go check out the previous episodes if you want to get all of that. But this, for long story short, this actually feels like I've found a purpose in life. And it's also been able to help me out with my social anxiety. I'm still a little bit of a shy guy here and there, but it's actually allowed me to be more open as a person and actually be more open-minded. And it's amazing that it hasn't even been a year yet, and I'm actually proud of the progress that I made, not just on this platform, but on myself as a person as well. So I think that's one of the benefits of doing something like this. It doesn't even have to be a podcast. It has to be something that you're really passionate about and you want to continue doing it. Like I'll tell you guys right now, I have a day job, and there's times where I'm fucking tired as hell and I don't want to do anything. But if I have an episode planned out, I will find the energy, no matter what it takes, to go ahead and go through with it, because if I could do this every day, and if as a job or whatever, it doesn't even have to pay me. It's just something that I really enjoy doing. I just think there's something about me and a microphone that I just love spilling my heart out and my brains out and everything like that. So
and
that's
you, man. Congrats to you for that, for overcoming that fear.
Absolutely.
Thank
yeah,
you.
man.
Thank you.
You grew with your podcast. You know what I'm saying? And it's that's
I can tell you right now, Negro, the guy that you met 10 years ago is pretty much different than the guy that you know now, because and you know, just to go a little bit further into this topic a little bit, not too much though, is that back then 10 years ago, maybe you and our colleagues knew at the time, but I was not really a joy to be around. Like, I was dealing with my own demons, and you know, I know that people were kind of saying things about me behind their backs, and you know, they were basically like, you know, they were trying to keep their distance away from me because of how I carried myself and so on and so forth. And I accept that, you know, that's just a part of my history. Luckily, I'm not that person anymore, and I'm glad that I grew out of it. But I also kind of say that to anybody that we used to work with that are listening to this, just take notice that, like, I'm not that same person that I was back then 10 years ago. And if you still have that preconceived notion, then that, to me, my mindset is like, all right, if you still have that preconceived notion about me, then that just means you need to stay in my past like you were, and you don't need to be a part of my present or my future.
Yeah. Well, you know, I never heard anything like that. You know, you always was you was always just you. You were a serious guy, but you weren't a bad person. You weren't disrespectful. You were never rude. You know, I don't think anybody should be who they were 10 years ago. And if you are who you was 10 years ago, then you're not growing. You know, it wasn't until after Ale House where I got really into personal development and reading. Because I joined the network marketing company with my buddy, and it entailed to doing a lot, just growing, a lot of personal growth. You know, my personality is the same. I'm always going to be fun and outgoing, but my mindset is very different. You know what I'm saying? And it's to touch on what you're saying. So I don't think none of us here are who we were 10 years ago, and that's a great thing. You know, but there's a lot of people that can't say that. There's a lot of people that is the same person who was 20 years ago, and they think that everybody else is the problem. You know, you're trying to be bougie, you big time now, or you're better than this. And we just did an episode, you know, earlier, just talking about boundaries and stuff like that. So that's a good thing, man.
Yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate it. So now I wanna apologize first, Melissa, because I feel like you were kind of left out in the conversation. But let's bring you into it as well. I'll just try to be respectful to you and also to my guests and my audience as well. So, so as they said, you did the episode with them, and you were really excited to do it, and then it went well to the point where, like, they officially added you as the co-host, and now you're part of their family, their fold. But prior to that, what other aspirations and dreams did you have? And did you ever think that? Did the thought of a podcast ever come into mind at all, like previously, like anything like that?
That's funny, because I'm the same way as them, as far as just like, I'm an open book, and that, like, even in friendship conversations, sitting in a group setting, like, I will tell you things that I went through or things that I'm going through and how I fixed it. And I've always been that person that, you know, I'm open and I love to talk about things like that and help other people. And it's funny because I used to joke around with another coworker of mine, like, for a couple of years, like, because we'd always have these really just off the wall conversations where we talk serious for 1 minute and then we're goofing off, and then it's like the conversation just goes all over the place. So we used to joke around like, man, we should do a podcast one day. But, you know, with her, it was just kind of like laughing and joking.
It was wishy-washy. You know?
Right. But with me, like, I always felt like, oh, I would really love to do that, but I didn't know how to start that or do that by myself. So it's kind of, like they said, where it just kind of comes together, you know, when they invited me on, and it was a difficult conversation to have, you know, me to open up and talk about what I was talking about was, you know, the chapter that I'm in my life right now, where
I did hear that episode too.
Yeah. So, you know, I went through a lot. Like, I was married for a long time, and now trying to get to know myself, and I wanted to be open and transparent. And I think, you know, also with boundaries as far as like what I share, but I think it was so amazing, all the feedback that I got from people, like sending me messages in my DMs and text messages like, oh my God, I feel the same way, and I'm going through this. And it was just, it felt like therapy, and it also felt like I was giving something back to people. And it almost was like, it was emotional for me afterwards when I heard people telling me like how important that message was. So, like they said, after I left there, I felt the same thing they did, but I wasn't going to be like, hey, can I come back? You know, I'm not that person either. Like, I'm not going to be like, oh my God, I want to do this, you know? So when she did reach out to me, I was like, oh my God, yes. Because I was
It was a sign. It was absolutely a sign.
Yeah, like it was like as soon as I put those headphones down, I felt like, oh my God, like this is what I should be doing. I love this. So I'm grateful that they felt the same way. And ever since then, I kid you not, like every time we get together and we talk and we have these conversations, it really is genuine. And I appreciate the fact that sometimes we don't all agree. You know, I was telling Meech about this earlier. Like, it's okay that we don't all agree, because I feel like that would be boring if we were all sitting there just talking about how we agree on all the same things. I think that's the best thing, is that we're all similar, but we have such differences too. You know, I'm kind of more of the, you know, more reserved a little bit. So I give like we have like this balance where, you know, some things I'm like, oh God, you know, and I'm coming out of my shell more. But I think that's what makes it beautiful, is that we are so different, but we're also the same, and we just feed off of each other. And it's been great since then. I love it.
That's
awesome. Definitely has.
Yeah, that's awesome, and I'm glad that it worked out for you, and you guys have been doing a phenomenal job with the podcast so far. I personally enjoy listening to it, and I actually enjoy listening to it in the sense that I mentioned before that, you know, my rules on my podcast is no politics, no religion. So basically, I feel like in some kind of way I'm limiting myself to a certain extent when it comes to conversation. But when it comes to you guys, everything is out on the table. There's no boundaries. There's nothing. I mean, that you stay true to the title, all in on everything. We're going to talk about everything and anything, and we don't give a fuck. Do you guys ever have those trepidations though? Like, even though you guys are willing to talk about anything and everything, but do you guys worry about what things can happen or what could pop off, especially since we live in this time of cancel culture and shit?
Me all the time.
That was a scared one, but she's very cautious of the topics.
Yes,
because she knows that I'll run my mouth and say some crazy shit.
Yeah, me too. Me and Meech will have our side conversations like, oh my God, are we gonna get canceled? You know, if we talk about this, or like
we had one of our good friends on, my boy Kevin. He's a nurse, and you know, we didn't want to. Michelle didn't want to touch the topic of pretty much of COVID and vaccines and stuff, and I understood where she was coming from because it's a very touchy subject. I get it, I understand. So we did more like of an interview thing. We did an episode where we spoke about the transgender swimmer.
Oh God.
Oh yeah, okay.
And it's like, you know, it's okay to talk, but we're not gonna also embarrass ourselves, because we're also self-aware enough to give a respectful opinion, you know, that we feel, and we always say, you know, if it's something that we could be educated on, we always welcome our guests to educate us on whatever it is that we're talking about. So when we're speaking, we're never speaking from a place of this is the Bible, like we know what we're doing, you know.
Right, we're not
we do our research, we talk, you know, and if we're wrong, we make sure to be like, you know, we're not 100% sure, or we try to word ourselves in a way. It's not about perfection, but we won't. Our goal is not to offend anyone. Our goal is just to have a conversation, and some people may agree with this, some people may not. So, you know, here and there we'll have a, you know, kind of a risky conversation about certain things, and we just try to go up and down and not be restricted to a certain demographic. So we don't want to talk about only serious topics. We don't want to talk about only goofy topics. We don't want to talk about only so we want to kind of all in on everything. Like you said, we want to embody the name we want to embody the everything and talk about everything. You know, we'll do a game night where we're doing a trivia, me and Mel against each other, or we'll just have a good time and have fun, because at the end of the day, different people like to hear different things, and not every episode is going to be for every single person, and that's okay. But just because more people like a topic than the other doesn't mean that we should exclude that person from getting, you know, some being entertained or being.
And we're not gonna please everybody. You know how it is. You know, not everyone's gonna be happy. Not everyone's gonna be okay with it, and we are okay with that. We know that. You know, you guys. Some people might not like us. Some people love us, and we're okay with that.
Yeah,
that's the beauty of it, right? Is that you know you have this platform to reach so many people, and you are going to get different feedback. And sometimes some of the feedback we can take in and be like, okay, maybe we can change that. You know,
what was the feedback they said? This the shitty. So they gave us like 1 star.
One review that said, what was it that? I
lost brain cells listening to that.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. You're not.
You're probably my ex, that bitch.
We're not gonna please everybody. I mean, there are times. Listen, I'm so stupid. There are times, you know, when we're talking, and like Negro said, he doesn't give a shit. He just go. There's times when we're talking and Negro will say something, and me and Meech will just look at each other and like, oh God, like.
Yeah,
we
I actually have it right here.
off,
1 star,
but...
toxic. I think I lost brain cells. Bad podcast. Don't even know why anyone would even listen to this.
But you know
we
what?
love you.
But that's the thing. It's okay.
Yeah.
You're entitled to your opinion. It doesn't matter because we don't know your name. You see, at least we're proud that we put our faces, we put our voices, we put our identities on the line because we care about what we're doing. So we're not doing it from a malicious place. But whoever has something negative to say, they're not going to put who they really are, where they're from, or who, you know, because it's probably usually somebody closest to you. You know what I mean? It's always somebody that's the closest to you that has the biggest problem with you stepping outside the box. Because, like, you know, a lot of people, like, I'm pretty sure you went through this too, Jason. Starting a podcast, what? Well, you know about podcasting, or well, that's not going to work, or you might, you know, you hear all these different things, and you know, we don't care about what people think. We just care about what we want to do. You know, and like I said,
look what we did with that with Melissa. Remember Melissa, the reel we made out of that?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
we made it into a joke because it's like, okay, stay mad.
Everybody has their things that they're into. There's people that listen to podcasts about politics. There's people that listen to podcasts about murder mystery. There's people that, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's such a broad thing that it's like it's fine if you don't like what we're talking about, and then you just don't listen, and it's okay. It's not
turn
for
off the TV, turn off
but
the
like
radio,
you
whatever.
said, even if you're reaching 6 people that listen to you, like, that is what means a lot, is the good feedback that you get back. You know, the people that are reaching out like, oh my God, what you guys talked about on that episode, it was so true. I really, you know, it really resonated with me. That's what means more. Like, the ones that don't like it, it's fine, you know, and we all have opinions and we're entitled to it. And that's
and for that one person that had that leave that bad review, let's just also point out, I'm not going to put them on blast and I don't want to give them any shine, but I will say this: with their name, they're still living in a time warp because apparently they're using their name as, like, you know, the 3s with the E's and the O's as the zeros. So they're definitely. I feel like I'm in MySpace again right now.
Like 13, like when we were on AOL Instant Messenger, you know.
Fix your X.
That's Mel's X.
Pointing.
I love it. And, you know, one of the things also about, like, it seems like, especially ever since the pandemic happened, you know, 2020, it seems like, you know, there was nothing to do. We couldn't go out and we needed to find ways to get out of this, you know, stir craziness that we were feeling. And a lot of people felt like, hey, let me do this podcast endeavor as well. And it seems like everybody and their mother does it. I've seen people that are like in their 50s and 60s and started doing it and everything, even from like Zoom or in actual studios and everything. But when a market like this becomes so oversaturated, it's actually, believe it or not, you're able to find the ones that are actually worth listening to, because and Negro, and also Mish, you would actually understand this. Sometimes I could listen to like a sport podcast for somebody that's just starting up, and it's just as crappy as it is from somebody that's on the quarter bodega talking about the point spread of the Knicks or whatever like that. It has no structure. They're not talking about anything. They're all over the place and so on and so forth. So that's another reason why I enjoy you guys' stuff, because not only are you basically just talking to have like free conversation, talk about anything and everything, but you guys actually have structure. That's what turns me on about when people are doing endeavors, whether they're doing a YouTube channel, whether they're doing a show or a podcast or whatever the case may be. Structure is always going to be a thing of important to me, because it's important for integrity, it's important for consistency, and it's important for everything else in between. So, you know, kudos to you guys on doing that. And what do you guys plan to do as far as the next step in this endeavor? Like, is this basically just a podcast platform to you, or do you guys see a bit more of a bigger brand for yourselves?
I mean, I see it as a bigger brand. I think we all see it. You know, we're waiting for. We, like I said, during the pandemic, right? So the pandemic, everybody started doing podcasts. We were too busy because we were having a fucking blast. We was in Florida, so we were good, right. You know. And me and Meech lived together, so we were literally, our house was, you know,
the party house.
The party house. And we kept ourselves really busy. So I guess the podcast was never even on our mind at that time. You know, it's now that we're starting to get, it's like literally recently where we're starting to get, that structure comes from the girls. The girls are the structure. You know, I'm very just go with the flow. They tell me everything the last minute. All right, what are we talking about? All right, who goes first? Yeah, no, seriously, because I'm very, I'm off the top. I like to speak from the heart, so I don't like to have too much things written down. I don't want to sound like a robot or sound like I'm reading off a piece of paper.
Right. No.
So, we have plans. We want to get a YouTube channel up and running. We're gonna get a YouTube channel up and running. We're gonna get, to get the content, on other platforms, and we're just literally taking our time and going one day at a time. We're not, because I said we didn't start this to become financially free. You know what I'm saying? We didn't start this journey to become superstars. Now, if those things happen, that's awesome. That's great. And as we grow, we can expect more. But I think our hearts are in the right place, so we're able to deliver the message we're able to deliver. Because the only way to get better is to make mistakes. So if you start off perfect, you set the bar so damn high, then now you got to stay at that spot. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So we're just excited for all of our listeners and viewers to be able to grow with us and see the transformation from 2 years from now, and be like, damn, I remember when they started and they didn't even have a YouTube channel and they didn't have this, or they didn't have that.
We started in the room. And I remember specifically how transparent we were, that we the equipment and the room wasn't set up, the chairs were old, and I actually had people hit me up like, damn, you guys really don't care. It's not about not caring. It's not about not caring. It's about getting starting, because you know what I mean. I'm a full-time student. Okay, I'm a full-time student. Melissa works; she has corporate life. Ned was on the road, so it's like, we have lives, and we have real lives. We have children
and families. You know what I mean?
So we're not here trying to show you something that we're not. We're showing you exactly how we started, and we're going to show you exactly where we're ending.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I want to give a shout out to Meech too, because, when I joined, I saw everything that she was, editing and figuring out the sound and all, everything was self-taught from her. So I want kudos to her for figuring all of that out and putting those things together in the audio and stuff.
She's a little pit bull, bro. She's tiny, but she's fucking vicious.
And that's what I want to say too is I think it's amazing too when you see the gradual change in things like this. So 2 years from now, when our equipment is A1 and our sound quality is on point and we have videos and stuff, and then we could look back at our old stuff, it's literally started from the bottom. Now we're here. That's what I like to see, and I would love for people to see that growth. And I think it's okay if it's not perfect, but the messages, we're teaching ourselves, we're structuring it ourselves. It's funny because I have someone who listens to every episode, someone I went to high school with, and he's always sending me feedback on, on Instagram, and I always send it to Meech, and it's oh, this one was great, this was great. And there was one that we had that I think the sound was not great, something happened, and I was already I'm yeah, the sound wasn't great, but I hope. And he responded, was I don't care about it. He's that's not what, I don't listen to it for the sound quality. I listen to it because of what you guys are saying, and it feels like a genuine conversation. I don't care about that. So once he said that, it kind of made me okay, we'll get it together and we'll figure all those things out. We're learning as we go. The main thing is the message and how people feel after listening to it.
Right.
Yeah, and also, the three of us work so good together because there's no ego involved.
Nope.
Good.
You know what I'm saying? There's no ego involved. There's nobody that's the leader. There's nobody that's, everybody plays their position and their roles. Michelle is very
right. There's no alpha.
Yeah, with scheduling the timing. Mel's researching the topics. I'm bringing up my point of view, and I'm bringing up my things here and there. So it's everybody's okay. We're not trying to outshine one another on a podcast or cutting each other off or trying to one up each other with a story or a joke. You get what I'm saying? We're doing it, and we're listening to each other, and we're laughing with each other. We're literally engaged with the story. So when somebody's talking, we're all eyes are on that person. We're not on our phones bullshitting, or we're all in on what we're doing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I want to that point. I do want to thank you guys too, because even me coming on after, coming into something that's already established, you kind of have those nerves of okay, well, I'm new, and you kind of sit back a little bit and take the back seat. But it was never like that. As soon as I came on, Meech is like sending me, what do you think about this? And what do you think about that? And her and I collaborate a lot, and we're texting and messaging all day, or we're sending each other stories that we see on Instagram, like, oh, future topic, or, and there's episodes that I'll put together, the talking points and like what we want to say. And there's episodes and we come together and we work really well together. And like Negro said, there's nobody that, is higher in the hierarchy than the other. Like even me coming in later, I feel just as equal to the team.
Because you know what, she came in later to the podcast, but that doesn't mean she came into our life at that time. We knew her for a while before, so we knew, especially Michelle knew her longer, so we knew her personality, we knew her type, we knew that what, like, her mindset. She's not a dumb person. None of us are like none of us are ignorant. None of us are negative minded or pessimistic. So we all kind of work on the same wavelength. We like to have fun. We like to crack jokes and make it fun and not have it serious all the time. So pretty much it's just it works because it's organic, and that's how we want to keep it. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Right. And it's difficult. You know how it is, Jason. You're by yourself, so you're the one who dictates everything. You're the one who schedules, edits, and I kudos to you, because I could imagine how that is. Especially
it's a chore, but I wouldn't do it if I didn't love it.
Yeah, exactly. You really gotta love it, and I feel like here it's like with Melissa, I didn't want her to feel like she came in late. Like she's the third person. I always like, oh, start off, because everyone knows I'm always like, and we're back, ladies and gentlemen, and it's always me who starts off what's gonna happen, or the episode what we're gonna talk about. And sometimes I'm like, girl, you do it. I'm tired. I gotta go for it.
And we'll be there recording, fucking up, laughing, giggling, retakes. So it's a fun, and we're enjoying the process. None of us are frustrated, and we don't force nothing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's one thing that I'm very passionate about, that I don't want to force content, and I don't want to force bullshit out there. You know what I'm saying? I'm down to talk about anything. Like, like I said, I'm on the road. Michi texted me today, what are the topics you're talking about? Because I'm good on like that. As long as I know that they're good and they're organized, I'm following their lead, and I'm just coming in and I'm putting in my point of view, because it's all just a conversation. So we're not, it's not an educational platform where we're educating people. You know what I'm saying? It's not a platform. We're not teachers. So I don't feel the responsibility or the pressure to have to research something to the T to make sure that everything, it's more, we're just giving our experiences and our opinions and our, how we feel about certain topics. So therefore it doesn't, it's easy in a sense where we don't have to feel like we have to sound cool or say something dope for people to like us. We're like, it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter about buzzwords or anything like that.
Yeah, those things don't matter, man. The people that are going to support you, usually 9 times out of 10, are going to support you regardless. And it's not going to be the closest people to you either. You know what I'm saying? So it's like...
And you know what? That's a perfect segue into my next question, because one of the things that I notice about whether you're doing a podcast or you're doing some kind of thing that you want to do in your career that you're very passionate about, one of the things that I'm learning more than ever now is that you figure that the ones that can be on your corner the whole time are the people that are closest to you, like your family and friends and so on and so forth. But then you go on and you find out that the ones that are supporting you are the ones that you never even met or you don't know are really
the least
basis or whatever. I mean, I was actually surprised to know that my show actually reached somewhere in France or whatever, and I never even
bro,
so that's crazy. So
yeah, man.
So the point that I'm getting at is that
congrats, that's a big thing.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you guys do too. You just got to do a little more research,
bro. We did. The first time he brought it up, like, look, yo, fucking Mexico, Belgium, where else, Tokyo or some shit. Like, we were in countries. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like, it was just like
it was
just
exciting.
It was exciting
to know that it's reaching out there, and that's exactly where you're going at. That sometimes it's those people over there that you don't even know who they are, and they're listening. Like me, I have family in Ecuador, and I'm like, my dad doesn't even understand English, but he just wants to click and give us a play. You get what I'm saying? And it happens because it all depends. You get to know who's who when these things come around. Open up a business, they say. They'll
promote the rapper, the celebrity before they promote a friend. You know what I'm saying? And I learned that the hard way in that network marketing company that I joined. I learned that So I guess for me it was kind of an easy transition because I already knew that was going to happen. I knew I know that from now to the end of time, I teach my kids that, my sons that, I teach everybody that because you know, a lot of people that are successful will teach you that. You know, you get into something, you could start a t-shirt company tomorrow, and all your friends are going to want everything 50% off. Okay, you know, people want, and then it's also too, it's uncomfortable for certain people because, you know, you're dreaming and you're actually chasing your dream and following your dream, and then people subconsciously tell themselves, you know, they look at themselves like, I want to do this, but you know, they look at you like, look at Jason, he started his own podcast. So they'll belittle you like, oh, you think you're better than them? Or, not saying that it's happened. I'm just saying, you know, in certain situations, because they don't have the courage to pursue their own dreams. So when you're bringing up something you're passionate about, and we just literally spoke about this, you can't bring it up to small-minded people because they're gonna shoot it down. Mm-hmm. You know, we're you know, we have so many people that we're super close with that don't promote us, that don't, and we don't do it for promotion, that don't repost our shit, that don't do anything, but you see them repost some other shit, and it doesn't bother us because we don't care. It's not like we're hitting people up like, yo, what the fuck, can you promote that? We don't care. It doesn't matter. But it's, you know, it's just funny to see how some people, they know about it, and now when they see you, they think, because they know they haven't been a good friend or they haven't really, oh, yo, I heard the podcast. Wow, awesome, thank you, bro, I appreciate it. You know, I don't ask for promotion. I don't ask for handouts. We don't need nobody's help to you know, if you don't want to support us genuinely, naturally, that's totally fine with us.
Right. But the point of that I was reaching out with that initially, it was like, you basically got to push it to the side and not let emotions get to it. But like, how does it affect you sometimes when you feel like the ones that you figure will be there in your corner are not always there?
It doesn't affect me at all.
Yeah, it depends, right? Because in the beginning, when you first start, I mean, it did affect me because I'm like, damn, I did this with the thought of all my family and friends, you know, just being happy and supporting. Right. But then you look back and you realize, you know what, everything is not for everyone. Mm-hmm. And I just started to realize, you know, I'm not going to stop being who I am. You can ask anybody. I'll support everything and anything you do. I don't even care if I don't use it, if I don't know about it. I might ask you, oh, what is it? Like, and just so I can repost it. Because I feel like, you know what, I'm going to keep continuing to be the good person that I am and the good karma. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I don't need you to do it. I'm okay with knowing that 2, 3, 4 people are always listening. Mm-hmm. And that's cool with me.
And it's funny because in like the same thing, like with my family, certain family members and stuff like that, I know that they don't listen, but it doesn't bother me in the sense too, because I know how those family members are. And I know if they did listen, they might be like, oh my God, because they're, you know, I have a lot of like religious family members, or, you know what I'm saying? So some of the topics that we may talk about is really not for them. So I rather like, you know what, I rather them not listen and then me get bombarded with negativity of, oh, why are you doing this or whatever, you know what I mean? So to me, it's reaching who it needs to reach. And the people that are listening are the people that want to listen. And they're the ones that need that message or whatever we're talking about. Like I said, there's people that I went to high school with that I haven't seen since I was a kid that listen every single episode and reach out about every single and repost and do all that. So it's those people that are like, wow, you know, but it doesn't, and it's amazing that it doesn't bother me because the person that I used to be would be very much bothered by that. Mm-hmm. Because now I have that mindset of like Meech said, it's not for everybody. So the family members or close friends that don't listen to it, maybe it's just not something that they're into. And and some people literally can't sit through a podcast. And that's what it is. They just can't sit. Okay,
that's fine.
But the people that are listening, they're taking something from it. And I'm receiving that feedback and it means a lot. So you know, it is what it is at the end of the day.
Yeah, right. And I'm so glad that you said that also, Melissa, because I agree with you 100%. I mean, and you know, there's been a couple of times already in my personal thing where, you know, certain family members, they listen to it and they're proud of what I'm doing, but they don't necessarily agree with what I'm talking about or what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. Like, I'll even give you a perfect example. So I had a family member that happened to catch me on an episode of DNA Live, which is a podcast live show on YouTube that is from Long Island, and it was one of my very first guest spots. And you know, they were watching it on TV in the living room and everything, and it was a really good feeling. But you know, that behind the scenes, they were more like hey, you know, it was good to see you. It was nice to see you. However, like I didn't care for all the cursing that you did and everything. I mean, there's always going to be
I
those
got that too.
judgmental. There's always going to be those judgmental things. But at the end of the day, like I'm not ashamed to be myself. I have no shame pouring my heart out to how I feel and who I am, you know, to the masses. You know, this is who I am. This I'm not going to change. This is who I am. This is who I'm going to be, and just, you know, just accept it. I mean, yeah, the criticism is going to come regardless, but the biggest thing for me is that I try not to let that discourage me, or, you know, and I'll accept constructive criticism, but sometimes I have to wonder if that constructive criticism is going to benefit me or if it's going to benefit them. Because
Exactly.
it's not just them, it's also me and the listeners. Right.
Yeah.
You know, one person is not going to dictate my entire audience, so to speak.
Exactly. And for me, it's different. Like I came into it with the mindset already expecting that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I have a shitload of friends and followers, and I probably get reposted the least. You know what I'm saying? I'm not, you know, but everybody I see, they tell me they hear it, and I'm like, thank you, that's awesome, that's good, that's great. Mm-hmm. Because I don't want anybody expecting, because what happens is I've been in a situation before. You know, when I got into the network marketing company, I showed a lot of people, and a lot of people were like, no, whatever. And they made fun of me. They did this and they did that. They would talk shit, and it's just. And then fast forward 2 years later, I'm making $20,000 a month, and now I'm doing this, I'm doing that, you know, and everything's working. Now all of a sudden, those same people, I'm proud of you, always knew you could do it. It's gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna get on board either now in the beginning, or they're gonna get on board later. Because they're gonna be either the people that be like, I always supported you, or they're gonna be the people that was like, oh, I know that person. You know, and everything goes. Oh, I know Jason. I grew up with Jason. You know, he's one of the big. You know, you're one of the biggest podcast guys. I know Mitch. I know Ma. I know Negro. I used to hang out with them back in the day. It's gonna be those kind of people. So it's not for us to sort out. They sort themselves out through the process. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And you can't allow that to affect you, because I got friends that be like, oh, you know, you talk about this one. Oh, thank you, but I appreciate it for the criticism. That's it. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, you know, I had the same thing. I had a friend of mine say, oh, you know, you guys curse a lot. All right, thanks, bro. We try to keep that in mind. It doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the
it's a genuine conversation that we're having, and if that's how I talk in a normal conversation, that's how I talk, you know, because I got that too. The first time my sister listened, she's like, oh, I listened, it was so good, but man, you got to stop cursing so much, you know. And I'm just like,
like, how about this, guys? How about like, since we're all Hispanics here, how often do you hear from like when they see that you're doing this ever, they're like, don't talk about anything that happens in the family, you know, all that.
Basically, it's too late for that, because we
you know what, I think the funniest thing about that you mentioned that I have an aunt, Jessie, you know, she's always listening to our
shout
episodes.
out to Auntie.
Yeah, shout out to her. And she'll always, when she'll hear me go around like a situation and not fully say it, she's like, you could have said it, you know that, right? It doesn't matter. You should just say. I'm like, oh, I'm just trying to be, you know, respectful to everyone's, you know, situation. She's like, well, you could, whatever has to do with me, you could talk.
Right.
So, you know,
negative, so.
Yeah, hold on. He'll come back.
Awesome. But yeah, continue with your point.
So, you know, basically the ones that are going to love it are going to love it. And the ones that are not, they're not. And that's even your family members, because I have family members that love the fact that I'm transparent and tell people, yeah, this is how we grew up and this is how my life was, crazy dysfunctional. And then there's family members that are like, oh, you're doing the most. And it's like, then don't listen.
And that's one of the things that we pride ourselves on, is that we are transparent and we want to talk about. That's why I even said, I don't mind if certain family members don't listen to it, because I'm being as open as I can be. And I'm talking about childhood trauma, and I'm talking about things that happened. And, you know, if they're going to get offended when they listen to it, I'd rather that they don't then, you know, but, you know, right. we're very cautious of what we say. Like, we'll speak on certain things, but, you know, we don't provide so many details. It's not like we're giving names and things like that. But I think that's the importance of this whole thing is if we're going to talk on generational trauma, we have to give our own examples. Right. You know, if we're going to talk on growing up in a Latin household and what comes with that, we have to give examples. So, you know, it's part of what we're doing, and that's, you know.
Besides all the main events and the current events that happens, and you guys, you know, touch on those subjects and so on and so forth. What would you say is probably the like your favorite episodes to do? Like, which are the ones that you guys touch on a specific topic, or you're figuring something out, and then afterwards, like this is the one that I'm looking forward to recording and talking about.
I think that it's always the ones with the direct messages like boundaries, self
Mental health.
awareness, mental health, personal development,
Thank you for saying that.
stuff like
Yeah.
that really matter that people are not talking about. Like we like to push the agenda of self awareness, of
Accountability. Yeah.
accountability, because you know what, we were there once too,
Yeah.
so we
And let's
know
talk
that
about
we
the things,
aren't
important
self-aware.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
So
you
one
said,
of yeah.
changing mindsets and stuff like that. Mindset things. We like to just things that are gonna add value. Those are the topics that we love the most.
And like one of our like biggest episodes that had so many listens was the one that we did. My brother came on,
Oh
and and we talked about men and emotions, and
Yes,
and the
I
thing
remember
that
that one.
yeah, that one was really, really like Meech was showing us like the graph, and it was like all the way up here of like how many people listened. But what was so important about that one too is that me and Meech kind of took the back seat. Like, yes, we talked, but we let them as men express themselves in that episode, because it's men and emotions. What is me and Meech gonna know and say on that? But it was more so asking, okay, what can we do,
Right.
and how is it that you're feeling, and let them kind of have the floor. And I think that's what's important too, is if today we did an episode on boundaries and things like that, and Meech let me kind of open that one up and have the floor on that one and kind of guide the conversation, because it was something that was important to me,
Right.
something that I lived through, and something that I had a lot of examples on, and things that I struggled with. Whereas maybe them, they had their boundaries from the beginning, and they're more of those people like, nope, that's not how it's going to go with me. But I struggled with it, so it was something that I maybe took the reins on more and talked about. But like she said, those are the episodes that when we ended, we're like, oh my God, I can't wait for people to listen to this, because I want to hear how people felt, and if this helps somebody. So those are the ones that are really like top notch, that we're like, okay, we're proud of this.
Yeah, and I say this I've said this a couple of times on my show before already, that one of the things, unfortunately, that we deal with as Hispanics is that there's a stigma when we're dealing with something personally in our lives, and back then, especially in my era, it seemed like if you want to go get professional help, like if you want to go see a psychiatrist or whatever, it was looked at as a sign of weakness, because that's not what we do, or they're worried too much about what we're going to talk about to somebody that's
Stranger.
in that field, a stranger, about what some of the things that happen in the household, and they want to keep that too private, they want to keep it in-house, and so on and so forth. And what takes away from that is that we're basically doing something that's going to better ourselves in order to benefit everybody else around us as well.
Absolutely.
So luckily we live in this time now where I feel like that's people have gotten the message pretty much now, where like it's okay to take care of your mental first, and so on and so forth. I can't tell you how many times I see on social media where people are actually preaching the fact that it's okay to take a personal day off from like your work or whatever, because we're just dealing with so much shit right now, especially. And I'll touch on this a little bit. It's funny how people of an older generation, especially like our parents or even older than that, are like, they'll complain about like, oh, you guys don't know what hard work really is, you don't know what struggling is. We've been through this, we've been through that, you guys are soft, and you guys have it all and everything. But I'm also the mindset that, in a sense, you guys had a little bit easier, because all the shit and problems that we're dealing with now was a result of what you guys did back then. We have to deal with pollution. We have to deal with pollution because you guys were just smoking cigarettes all over the place without any restrictions. We have to worry about drunk driving and so on and so forth, and all these things. And I remember specifically, like, my father, God rest his soul, he always used to not make fun of me, but point out the fact that he never had to deal with allergies or anything like that, and I deal with them really bad on a seasonal point. But I'm also the mindset that, well, yeah, I'm having allergies because you guys fucked up the environment before I even got here with all your shit, with all the
I never
smoke and all
thought of
the
it that
factories
way.
and so on and so forth. So, the point that I'm reaching at, though, is that I'm just glad that some people, it's not what we want it to be, but it's getting to a point now where people are a little bit more understanding and realize that it's not such a bad thing to look for help for yourself in order to benefit you and others around you. And I think that's a great thing that what you're doing with your platform as well as mine. And you actually talked about this earlier, Mish, about the importance of other podcasts out there, like different varieties of having them to basically gain knowledge from all different aspects. And I guess I'll ask you, can you elaborate on, at least in your own opinion, the importance of different platforms for people to consume?
Well, I think, like, like we said earlier, we're not for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone has to find their person, their podcast, what they're into, what they prefer to listen to on their way home, on the way to work. I feel like, for example, you're big on men's mental health. Mental health. I
Among
think
other
that,
things, but yeah, that seems to be
yeah,
the
that's one of
driving
your
force.
biggest
Yeah.
things. And I feel like a lot of men should come forward with that, because the problem is that, there's a lot of men that don't want to show their emotions, and they think it's not right. And women have no problem with self-care, self-love, books, and writing things down, and doing a spa day and all that. But men feel like, that's kind of like
Mm,
kind of gay, or whatever they call it, you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So it's like
Words that we can't
promoting
use
that
in this
more.
day and age, unfortunately.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So
The other
promoting
F word.
that,
The other F word.
yeah, promoting the fact that, it's okay to be, to take a time off for yourself, and express yourself, and show emotion, and love and care. Like I always say, Negro's he's like a big bear, he's always
Mm,
saying, oh, I don't care, I'll show my emotions. And I like that, because I feel like if people see him, or men see him, then okay, maybe I can do it too. So I feel like it all depends on the situation, it all depends what you're going through. And it's basically what you like, what resonates with you.
hmm
That's what I think for a different podcast is for.
I want to ask you this, actually, Melissa. Before you actually got into the fold and everything, what were some of the things that you like to listen to that you felt probably would give you the idea of actually doing this full time?
Well, I mean, similar to what we're doing, like I'm that type that I like the genuine conversation type of
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Like I can't sit and listen to a political podcast. I can't sit and listen, like things like that, where
Mm-hmm.
it's like more just information type of things. Like I can sit and watch a YouTube video of a podcast, and people just talking shit and laughing, and like and when you find yourself sitting there listening and like laughing, like if you're in the room,
Mm-hmm.
like those are the type of things that I like to listen to, where you're like, oh my God, I could totally see myself sitting there and talking to them. Or
Right.
like, even for an example, like I was very big on, before podcasts, you would listen to the radio, right? And they would have the morning talks, like Y100, Elvis Duran, and the freaking thing, or the Breakfast Club. And it's like people, it's like almost the same thing, right? They're talking about topics, they're laughing, they have guests, things like that. So I grew up in that, like listening to the morning radio shows as I'm going to work. And
You're just like me. Yep.
Yeah, and I always used to sit and think to myself, like, oh my God, I would love to do that. That sounds like so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be on there. I want to talk crap. I want to, because that's what I enjoy listening to, like feeling like I'm in the room and it's stuff that I resonate with, and I, that I can relate to in that sense.
Right. How about you, Mish?
Well, I mean, I feel like it all depends, right? Because I also I grew up the same era, so Hot 97. It's like me. I don't like I can say I don't like the Breakfast Club.
Right,
I
right.
feel,
You
I
have your
don't.
choice. Like, yeah, like
Right,
I like to listen to Michael K, but not Carn and Roberts or something like that.
Exactly. You know what I mean? So it all depends, what you like. And I used to look at it, and I used to see sports and be like, I want to be the girl on the sports news reporter.
Oh, okay.
That was my thing, because I
Mhm.
like sports, and then I felt like women could do that. Like we could talk about sports. Like I could talk about
Absolutely.
soccer, and they will have no idea what I'm saying.
I'm like,
So I
yeah,
just
well,
feel
no
like,
doubt.
Right.
so I feel like it all depends. It's basically what
Yeah.
you're in for, what you're going for.
And one of the things I love about this community that we're in with podcasts is that, like, you're also kind of getting the other side of the spectrum. Like, I'll give you a perfect example. So I am a New York Jets fan. As far as football goes, that's one of my teams, and especially in the New York market. I see you grilling me right now, Mish, but it's okay. I don't care. You're not gonna derail me from my point.
I'm not gonna say that. I'm not.
I know you're not. I could tell already. I don't think anybody in this room except for me is, but regardless, nevertheless, the point that I'm getting at is, unfortunately in the New York market, we have this thing where we have like the New York Post or the New York Daily News or ESPN New York, or all these mainstream medias that clearly that not only are they aggressive, but they all seem to have like an agenda. And thank God we actually have YouTube channels and podcasts and everything that are part of this community, that you're actually able to see the other side of the spectrum. Like, you know, if there's a controversy going on with a sports team or whatever, the mainstream media seems to want to focus on that because it's going to do good for ratings, it's going to do good for clickbait, and so on and so forth. And it kind of ruins the integrity of journalism, unfortunately, in this day and age. And that's why you have people out there, you know, doing quote unquote fake news or calling it fake news. So now I just love the fact that I can, instead of listening to that or reading those columns, I can actually go on YouTube and actually talk to actual real fans or listen to real fans, because they're looking at it from a different perspective. And you actually think to yourself, oh yeah, I didn't really think of it like that. And those are the people not only do I like to listen to, but I like to support, because these are the people that are not going to, you know, ass kissers the entire time. They're going to tell you exactly like it is. Like I just said right now, I'm a Jets fan. I know that we suck, so I'm always going to keep it real when the team sucks and when they're doing great and everything. But I'm not going to focus on like whether Mekhi Becton is like 350 pounds or 450 pounds and he's not going to get on the field or something, or if, you know, Zach Wilson is sleeping with his ex-girlfriend's mother or whatever the case that shit. I don't care about any of that shit. You know, that's why that's why I feel like journalism overall, especially with the mainstream, is losing their integrity. And it just makes me wonder, like, if we have this kind of power, I'm talking about like people like you, me, and everybody else in this podcast community, just imagine the heights that we can ascend if we can actually stay consistent and actually stay real to us and our audience. Then it's going to be a dying breed. I mean, newspapers are already a dying breed as it is. And I feel like right now, pretty much the ball is in our court. We just got to stay consistent with it.
Absolutely. I've loved podcasts for over, bro, I'm talking about like 2008. I remember when Joe Rogan first started his podcast online. You know, I don't know if a lot of people don't know this. Tom Green was like kind of like the inventor of podcasts. The comedian Tom Green, remember him?
I remember Tom Green. Yeah. He put on, I mean, not the whole inventor, but he was the one that introduced Joe Rogan. Pioneer, yes. So, like, for me, I agree with you. Like, I stopped watching the news over 15 years ago, because the news, like you said, has an agenda. You know, everything has their own narrative. Everybody has their own narrative. You know, CNN's beefing with this one. You can never get real information. Right. And me, I love to learn. So, you know, I love the internet because you get to learn. Like, I love listening to podcasts. Like, I love Joe Rogan's podcast because I love, you know, Jordan Peterson's podcast, Mike Tyson's podcast. I love like real stuff. Like I got a lot of like science podcasts I listen to with like astrophysicists and stuff like that. I love learning about stars. You can't learn about that shit on TV. No. You know what I'm saying? You don't get those kind of conversations. You don't get those kind of real raw emotions on network television. Everything now is reality TV shows, Desperate Housewives. They want to see drama, bullshit fight. So then they wonder why the world wonders why we're in the place we're in. You know, we're not adding this. None of that is adding value to people. You know, right. So my goal is just to, you know, create something that we could create a community, like you said, and it's our job to, you know, lift one another up. Like nobody should be in competition with the other. That happens. That happens in big business. You know what I'm saying? We're just trying to, you know, deliver messages and have, you know, cool conversations, important conversations. And that's why it's important for us to be able to share each other on each other's platforms, because from there we should be doing that with all of us should be doing that, you know, especially us at our beginning, because we got people that listen to our podcast that probably can't stand it, but now they're going to hear you and they're going to get on your podcast, and now boom, you got a listener, and that's awesome. You know what I'm saying?
And vice versa.
Exactly, vice versa. So, you know, that's where, you know, the community comes in, and us being friends and being able to do this is what's important. So, you know, you don't see this kind of stuff in the real world. You know what I'm saying? And it's so, I agree with you there. You know what I mean? That's my passion behind it and why I like it so much, because you get to hear real stories. You get to hear real emotion, you know, real difficult problems and how they overcame it, or really cool actual facts, and learn things that are really going on in the world. There's so much information that's available to everybody. You know, why limit yourself to just network TV, you know?
Right, exactly. Yeah. And, you know, one of the biggest things about my accomplishment ever since I started this podcast is I was actually able to get on a man who is considered a legend in the radio business. His name is Joe Beningo. He has his own podcast, Over the Pain podcast, and he was on WFAN for 25 years, and he's retired now.
Wow.
But
Right.
I was actually able to get him on my show, and I thought that was a big thing, and that was
That's
like
awesome.
Yeah,
yeah, that was
congrats.
thank you. That was a big accomplishment, probably my biggest accomplishment thus far with this podcast. So I guess I'll guys ask you, as a collective or individually, you guys can answer it either way, any way you want. What would you say is the biggest accomplishment thus far that you've done so far, as opposed to what it's going to be in the future?
I mean, for me, it's my biggest accomplishment. What I would say our biggest, where I feel the most, is just when you get the direct messages from people about how much that podcast, that episode, made an impact in their life, and how they relate to us, and how, like, we did a men's health episode, and the feedback was just,
Oof.
it was so rewarding that you can't put a dollar symbol on that. You know what I mean? Like, you had people text, like, DMing us saying, thank you for talking about this. I've gone through this for so long by myself, and there was times where I thought about ending it in that spot, and you're able to let
That's
people
happened to me
know,
too. Yeah.
able to let people know that you're not in this, that they're not in this by themselves, and that's for me is my greatest accomplishment, and
Is
it's
that
not
by,
somebody
For
that
all of us.
is
I
that by
think
any
that
is
I
that by
think
any
it's for
chance
all
the
of us.
episode that's called "Mental Breakdown: The Stigma of Men and Emotions"?
Yes.
yes,
Okay,
I
and
think
you
that's
know
for
what?
all of us. That one was really, really big. And it also
Right.
kind of paved the way of what we want to continue doing. Because now that's like almost like the standard that we hold it to. Because it's like, oh, we gotta keep putting things out like this, because it was
Hmm.
just the
that have that
feedback
type
was
of impact,
so
Yeah.
right. The feedback was so amazing that it was like, and that's like Mitch said, I think that for all of us, that's where we all feel accomplished, is when we reach people.
And doesn't
And
it amaze you that so many people feel like this, but didn't have the balls or anything, or even just the anything to say it, and it took
Absolutely.
something like this to actually bring it out, and
Yeah.
yes,
that is such a rewarding and a refreshing feeling, because
yes,
yeah,
it is,
same thing
man.
with me. I mean, I remember I did an episode of a mental health episode with somebody else on their platform. Shout out to Tyson of Let's Talk Jets. We were doing a mental health episode, and some guy on Twitter reached out to me. Some guy I never met. I never even stepped foot in Vegas before, but he lives in Vegas, and he reached out to me, and he personally thanked me because he went through the same thing, like with the loss of his father, and so on and so forth, and he felt like he couldn't speak to anybody. And I was also thinking to myself, wow, I don't know this guy. I never met him. I don't even know his real name because he doesn't have it on his Twitter or whatever. But it meant the world to me that he, like, somebody was actually able to understand where I was coming from, and I was just so happy that I was actually able to make his day. Because that was something that he needed, and that's one of the things
You
that's
saved a life.
right. Besides the fact that I had a legend, quote unquote, on my show, those are the things that I look for more than anything. Because you also have to keep in mind, sometimes when we talk about these subjects and we want to be there for people, subconsciously we're also trying to reach out for a helping hand as well for ourselves.
Absolutely.
At least I know that I have.
Yeah, yeah,
Sometimes
for sure.
when I've been on my show and I talk about the importance of all these things that need to be talked about, subconsciously I'm like, I could use somebody to talk to as well.
well, that's
Yeah,
funny that you mentioned that, because that's one of the things that came up on that episode that my brother said, is that sometimes we just want somebody to ask us how we're doing,
Right.
and that was like the biggest thing that I noticed. A lot of people were reaching out saying like, oh my God, like that hit me, because that's how I feel, like, because maybe you're not one to go out and say something and reach out for help, but you're just yearning for somebody to ask you, how are you doing? Do you need anything? And that
Hmm.
was really important to us. I think that whole week we just kept exchanging like, oh my God, look what this person said, look what that person said. And it was like,
That was that was the most rewarding part of
Yeah.
it all. That was the most rewarding part of it all. I think that, like you said, the news doesn't give you none of that. They're
Mhm.
not gonna sit there and tell you, hey, we care about your mental health. You know what I mean? Like, let's try to change the agenda. Let's try to make something new out of this. Let's change the generation. Let's make it better, because the way it's going, it's like a joke. It's a joke to be petty. It's a joke to be a no shit girl, no shit guy. You know what I mean? But if we sit there, we could laugh, but when it comes down to being serious about what you need to be serious about, that's where we come in.
yeah,
Because we got the microphone doesn't mean we're gonna be fools and give the wrong message. I think that
right.
sitting down and actually spreading the right message and sending the right message is very, very important, especially during these times.
Especially.
We had our children. We had our children on the podcast.
Yep.
And they were
Yeah, I remember
raw.
that. That was
They were
awesome.
raw, like, and I didn't tell my daughter, hey, don't talk about this. Negro didn't tell his son. Melissa didn't tell, you know what I mean? Because we want it to be real. Because a lot of people are going through that. A lot of people are having trouble communicating with their children, are having trouble understanding their children today. Because I look at my daughter, and I mean, with her, it's more like she's very mature, but there's certain things I'm like, girl, what? How did you know what I mean? But all those messages is what we need, because there's moms out there that need guidance. There's dads out there that need guidance. The parents who kids that lose their parents and they don't know how to find their way. We had an episode on that too. So it's like, it all depends. Let's just try to spread the correct message. Let's just try to
with
send
love
the
and
correct
respect.
message. Yes, exactly.
We like to preface it with, like, we're not therapists, we're not professional counselors, but we're people. We're real people with real day-to-day problems, and we're just sharing our experiences with you. And sometimes that message comes across better than hearing it from a therapist that doesn't know you, because it's like, okay, because when you sit with a therapist, which I'm very big on therapy, by the way,
right? So
when you sit with a therapist, obviously they're not giving you back their personal experiences, because that's, they're there to listen to you and guide you on what you should do. So sometimes hearing personal experiences that someone else has gone through is a level of therapy, because it's like, oh my God, I'm not alone. And that's the biggest thing for us.
Or therapy to yourself when we're doing an episode and it's like, oh, I needed to talk about that. Wow.
Right. Yes, absolutely.
Exactly.
You actually come to like, oh my God, you don't realize that this is actually therapy for us too.
Yeah.
So I want to go around the table real quick, and I'll start with you, Negro. To my audience that doesn't know who you guys are and what your platform is about, what can you say in a couple of words as far as words of wisdom and what they can expect from your show, from your own personal perspectives? And I'll start with you, Negro.
Okay. Well, my real name's Jesus Caratini. Everybody calls me Negro. From Brooklyn, New York. Our show, All In on Everything, what you could expect from us is you can always expect honesty. You can always expect transparency. You can always expect a good time. You could always expect to talk about things that you talk about with your coworkers, your friends, your brothers, your sisters, and not a place where you could come and not feel judged, and not, we're never speaking down to people. We're never speaking down on topics. We're all about bringing awareness and bringing light, and just giving people a refreshing perspective that maybe they didn't get, or they don't have. And you get that from the three of us. You got my perspective, you got Michi's perspective, you got Mel's perspective. So that's the whole goal of our podcast, and that's what you're going to get with us. And for the people that are listening, that are part of your podcast, that decide that if they want to come and take a listen to ours,
please do, folks.
I want to thank you in advance, and I want to also invite people to also give feedback. We love to hear. We love to hear if you like it. We love to hear if there's, we love to get topics from our guests. We always try to interact with our guests as much as possible and ask what are the things that we can talk about that you guys want to hear. So you're gonna get three awesome people with three different perspectives that are just moving in the right direction and growing together with the podcast.
Michi, same question for you.
Yes.
Any words of wisdom that you could introduce to my audience and what they can expect from you personally on the podcast?
Yes. So my name is Michelle Escobar. I go by Meech, Michi, Big Meech. Doesn't matter. All of it. So basically, what you're gonna get from us and what you're gonna expect from us is friends coming together to discuss real life situations. Like literally, we're transparent, we make mistakes, we're not perfect, we're not therapists, we're not here to tell you what you need to do or not to do, whatever the case is. But I also want to say we invite all of you to have a seat with us, to come and talk to us, because I feel like the main thing is we want you guys to understand that we're here for you just like you're here for us. And I think I speak for all of us when I say we're here to help each other. We might not have all the answers, but maybe something will help.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
I do want to say that.
Absolutely, and thank you for that. Melissa, any words of wisdom or anything they could expect from you personally on this podcast?
Well, I mean, for me personally, I'm like I said earlier, I'm an open book, like I'm going to speak about what I've done, my mistakes. If there's things that we're giving advice on, I always give an example of how I fucked up in that situation or where I was wrong, because one of the things that I've said in a previous episode is I never want to sit on this platform and, anyone can have, that be able to say that I was a hypocrite, for instance. Like, I don't ever want somebody to listen and be like, why is she talking about that when she did that, 2 years ago? So I always, if there's a topic that I know that I wasn't always 100% right on in my past, I'm going to start with that. And I'm going to give you that side of me and show you where I came from, my mistakes. I'm going to be accountable, and I'm going to, you're going to have that transparency. So I think that the best thing is that comes from all of us too. We're all on that same page, and that's why it works so well, because none of us are sugarcoating or lying or acting like we're better than we are. We're giving everybody that real honest truth. And the words of wisdom would just be, take a listen and hear for yourself that we're giving you advice based on our own circumstances. We want people to take care of themselves. We want people to be honest with themselves. We want people to be able to grow. It's all about growth, and we're still learning and we're still growing. And, there are things that we take in as the feedback. Like Negro said, if you have feedback, that helps us grow too. So.
Yeah. And I'm also going to be diplomatic here, because not only are your listeners going to hopefully listen to my episode, but I want my vice versa. Actually, like, my listeners are going to listen to you and tune into your show, but I also want your viewers and your listeners to view my show as well. And this is my words of wisdom. For me, in this podcast, you're going to get a guy that is not afraid to speak his mind, in the sense that of his past, his trials and tribulations, his trauma, no matter how controversial they can be. But you're also getting a person who is falling in love with himself all over again, or even falling in love for the first time. I'm pretty sure that I'm not the only person that has ever dealt with self-deprecation, wanting to harm themselves, talk about the things that are really tough to speak about, whether it's with your close family or your close friends, or even, somebody that you don't even know. You're getting a guy that's showing growth, who's showing progression, who's showing consistency, and you're also getting a person that is not selfish. The way that I look at this show and this episode and this podcast is, if I'm going to meet a certain level in life, it's not because I got there with all my hard work and perseverance. That's just going to be a fraction of it. What also is the main ingredient is the people that I come on my show, and that includes Negro, Mishi, Melissa, or anybody else that has been featured on my podcast. This is not just my own platform. I guess I'm the captain of the ship, so to speak, but it takes a nation to move all and everything, and I can't do it with anybody else, down for the cause. So, that's the guy that you're going to get. And I'm a guy that's always down for collaboration. And I also want to thank you guys for coming on the show, because
thank you for having us, man.
Thank you so much.
And you actually, believe it or not, you guys actually taught me a little bit about as well, not just about yourselves, but you said all three of you have said some things in my that clicked in my head, and hopefully that'll click into other people's heads as well. And you're just going to get more of that, whether it's on my platform or your platform.
Yeah.
I don't think that people are going to be disappointed in what we have to share with everybody.
Absolutely
else.
not.
I want to say, thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I know you reached out a while back, and I apologize. I know I'm all over the place. You know what I'm saying?
We hear though.
But I'm gonna send you my phone number. I got a new phone every 3 months. Ask anybody about me. I lose the phone, bro. I'm all over the place.
Bro, is that what it is?
Yeah, I'm telling you, right? I literally just got a phone. I just got a new phone 2 weeks ago. Like, it's nuts. Yeah. So, I just want to say thank you from sincere, like a real sincere thank you. I really enjoyed being on here and discussing, just you having us on here and asking us questions and doing that for us. And I can't wait. And I know I speak for all of us when I say I can't wait to have you on our show.
Absolutely.
I can't wait to have you on our show. We're gonna get together. We're gonna come up with a good topic that we could talk about that's relatable, and we could do this a lot more. You know what I'm saying? And this is what it's all about, man. Thank you very much. Thanks for everybody that's listening. Yes. And thanks for the support, bro. Genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Truly appreciate it. Thank you for the patience. I know that we took a while, but we've been up and down. I tried to be as transparent as possible.
She was a monster for the first trimester, dog. She couldn't even get out of bed, bro. She was throwing up. She couldn't keep nothing down. Like these last few months have been
hard.
You know,
I'm sorry. Can I actually confess something real quick?
Yeah.
Sure.
And it's not to take a shot at anybody here, but there was a moment where you guys did a really good episode, and I love what you guys were doing. And I think it was starting the video. You guys were starting the YouTube, and I reached out to one of you individuals. I won't say, but I reached out on a personal level on the phone number to say I'm really glad of what you guys are doing. That keep it going. And then one of you took a snapshot of it, shared it on social media, and was like, "Don't know who this is, but appreciate the love."
Oh, you know what it is? Hold on, Jay.
Okay.
No. You know what it is? Look how bad I am with social media.
No, that was me.
I know, but
right. You just incriminated yourself. But okay.
Yeah, because I give her access to my social media to promote the page because I'm so bad with it because I'm always all over the place. She didn't know who you was at the time. Like when you reached out to me, I passed you to her. Like, yo, get back to my man Jason. No, listen, get back to him. Set up a time because she's more structured like you. Gotcha. I'm all over the place. You know what I'm saying? So that's right.
I didn't take offense to it or anything. I just thought it was funny.
I did want to take that moment and thank whoever it was. I was like, oh, that's so nice of them. But I didn't save the number, so I was like, oh my god, that's so nice. And I didn't want to just ignore it, because I know you've seen. We try to get back to every single person that hits us up that says thank you, and we always ask permission. Obviously if it's a little more in depth. But yeah, thank you so much for having us. I had such a good time being here.
Right. Hey, and anytime, I'm always doing this all the time. I love doing this, and I said this kind of sounds cliche, but honestly, you guys want to come on anytime you want, please, whether it's a group or individual, whatever. You guys are always welcome on. I'm not going anywhere, and I'm definitely looking forward to being on your platform as well.
Likewise. Yes.
Thank you so much, bro. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
Yes.
Thank you. Well, before we close out, I just have one more thing that I want to ask, just to end things on a positive note. And this is actually going to be, kind of fun. I don't know if you guys have listened to my show before, but this is a common question that I ask at the end, so maybe you know what's coming. So I'm going to start ladies first. I'm going to start with Melissa.
Oh God.
If there were to make a movie on your life, Melissa, which actress would you like to see portray you and why?
Oh my God. Oh. I'm like, there's something I want to say, but I'm like, I don't know that's gonna sound like
at the same time, they don't have to look like you, they don't have to sound like you. It's just somebody that you admire and you feel like they will portray your character to the best of their ability.
Oh God.
There's no right or wrong answer either.
No, yeah. I'm thinking someone like me. Ooh, I'm kind of all over the place. Yeah. I almost feel like it'd be easier if someone would answer for me and we answer for each other. I'm like, damn, I haven't this is a good question.
We'll come back to you. Mish, how about you?
Yeah, go ahead.
I love movies, bro.
Yeah,
I love movies.
Let's go with him first.
So the question is, portray me in a movie of my life.
Right.
I would pick. Damn, my favorites are older. So I can't pick them. I would pick. One of my favorite actors that's a younger guy now, Shia LaBeouf. I love Shia LaBeouf.
That's a good one. Nobody said that on my show yet. So
bro, he's made a movie. He did a movie called Honey Boy. I'm not sure if you ever seen it.
I love Honey Boy and the Peanut Butter Falcon.
Yes, Honey Boy's about his dad.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I had a really fucking rough upbringing, so that's why that movie really resonated with me.
That was a great.
I would love to see him just portray that movie because just how his raw emotion and how authentic he is, and the way he just put it all together just resonated with me. So like it hit me like my eyes were sweating watching the movie. You know what I'm saying?
That was a really good movie. That was a really good
part
movie.
where he's at therapy and he's playing his dad talking about his son. And he's just saying, like, I love my son, but I'm in so much pain. And it's like, bro, the movie's phenomenal. So mine would be Shia LaBeouf.
I love it.
And he looks the complete opposite of me, dog. He's like,
hey, bro.
He's a tough son of a bitch, though.
Yes.
That's why I like him. That's why I picked him. He knocked out Tom Hardy on the set of Lawless.
I did hear that.
Yeah.
And behind the scenes in Fury, he was really dedicated to his craft.
Oh man,
Yeah.
Fury's another great movie, man.
Right.
Jesus, that's a great movie.
Yeah, no, and you know, like I said, there's no right or wrong answer. They don't have to look like you, sound like you. Like for me,
Yeah.
to kind of help you guys out a little bit, the guy that I chose is Keanu Reeves because I just love the fact that he's been in some of the biggest blockbusters of all time, but he hasn't let any of that get to his head. I mean,
He's the humblest guy ever, dog.
Right, yeah, and you know, he's just that's the way that I want to live life, continue going on. You know, just be good to everybody, good to myself, take care of myself, and just make my mark on this world. That's how I look at it.
Absolutely.
Wow.
How about you, Mish?
Mish probably seen 3 movies her whole life.
Yeah,
I'm gonna tell you, I do not watch TV, so I can't even name you someone. So I'm probably gonna be the only person on your podcast ever to say, I don't know. I don't know, and that's sincere.
Princess Jasmine.
Right. Oh yeah. Oh, Ariel.
Oh, shit. We're talking Disney now.
I love movies. I love I'm a big movie person too, and I have my favorite actresses and things like that. But it's like my favorite actress is like Meryl Streep, and I'm like, that would be really weird if Meryl Streep is playing me in a movie. I
don't know. She has range. She could probably.
But that's what I'm like that old school. Like I like those actresses, like the Meryl Streep and I love like Sandra Bullock and like so I guess I'm glad you said they don't have to look or sound like you because I'm sitting there thinking like who's like a young
This is not the SATs, you know?
Yeah. See, I think too much. I'm the overthinker.
Who's your actress, Mel?
Huh?
Who would you pick?
I'm gonna pick Meryl Streep. I know that's random.
Okay, that's fine.
That's knowing you, that's perfect.
I'm an old lady.
You're an old ass lady, dog.
I'm an old soul, but I love Meryl because, like you said about Keanu, like she's like up here, but when you see her like interact with people and she's like this cute woman that's like she's not big headed and she seems like a genuine soul, like you said, and that's what I love about her. So that's my pick. Macy. You just look at that. She doesn't even know who that is. That shows you how
know who that is. I had to Google her,
but that's like my top person right there.
All right, so since Mish can't come up with anything, is there maybe you guys can help her out?
I did. The little
you said Ariel.
No, Mish.
Yeah, listen.
I'm sorry. No, I
no.
I'm not meant to be an asshole, but that's kind of an acceptable answer.
I'm gonna pick what's the girl from Fast and Furious?
I was gonna say that. Michelle Rodriguez.
Michelle Rodriguez.
Yeah.
I saw that movie.
Because she's like a tough, like,
she's tough, but she's loving.
I like the girl with the short hair and Scarface, his wife.
Michelle Pfeiffer?
Michelle Pfeiffer.
Michelle Pfeiffer.
A different Michelle. A different Michelle.
Another Michelle.
That movie and that play and whatever she did, that was pretty good.
She was in Grease too. Yeah, okay. All right. That's it.
She was the one from Grease. Okay, yeah.
Wow, you really don't watch movies.
No, dog. All right, Jay, thanks for having us, bro. Appreciate
Shia
you.
LaBeouf, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Meryl Streep. Got it.
And Keanu Reeves.
And Keanu Reeves. There you go.
Yes.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for this episode of First Class, Second Place. I want to thank my guests of the All In on Everything podcast. Excuse me. Is there anybody else you guys want to give a shout out to before we close out?
Oh man, just shout out to all our listeners.
Shout out to you, First Class, Second Place.
Shout out to you for having us, our listeners, all our guests that we've had so far. It's double shout out to my brother because he was a guest and he also made the intro beat for our podcast. So
nice.
Shout out to our boy Drugula for giving us the name. Drewski.
Yeah, absolutely. And shout out to you, Jason, for having us here and your listeners too.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And where can they find you guys on social media?
All In on Everything.
That's on Instagram,
IG, Twitter. I mean, what is this?
TikTok.
Yeah.
TikTok and IG. All In on Everything.
TikTok and IG.
All right. Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate you having you on. And ladies and gentlemen, you can find me at JasonEnrique_ on Instagram and Twitter. And don't forget to follow the First Class Second Place podcast page on Instagram as well. This has been the First Class Second Place podcast. We out.
We out.
Thank you.
Later.
All right.